Happy November, everybody. It's release notes time. We're talking 2025.12, or as many have noticed, it's 2025.12.1 up on those Windows screens. Something we're going to look at, see if we can figure out why we're getting the dot ones added, because it should be just dot 12 to avoid any confusion. Anyway, here is the release notes. You can always get the release notes, by the way, under the help option release notes. So let's go through the list. A few minor UI tweaks, some more crashes that you're trying to solve. So, needless to say, there's always this discussion on Facebook and everywhere else about should you upgrade or not upgrade. You know what? If you're not facing a crash at this point, maybe don't upgrade. But if you're facing a crash, there's a reason why we're doing these releases, and that's to address the crashes as we come across them. We don't want anybody to go without having a show. So obviously, we want to get those fixes out there as soon as possible to help you move along on your shows. Anyway, so let's go on. Some of these things have been reported by people, and thank you for that. Use the issues to note these. Something you may not have noticed, but when you are importing or downloading a prop into your layout, the states that came with the prop, they would be multiplied or repeated in your RGBFX file. So you probably didn't notice it, but your RGBFX file would have gotten bigger and bigger needlessly. And that was just a recursion bug that was addressed. So that cleans it up. Should be no issues for that going forward. And thank you for pointing that one out. Check sequence did not work on Mac, specifically on Safari, because Safari doesn't let you pull in files from a non-local directory. So we've changed the way the check sequence works and where it grabs the CSS file, which is the styling of the check sequence format. So it's just a little behind the scenes change to get around the permissions issues that were happening on just some installs, probably impacting the folks on Linux as well. Um, Mac OS fixed fade delete is not cancelable. This was accredited to me, but it was actually Kyle that put this code in. If you go to layout, pick on a prop here, faces, and click on this. Yeah, we know. There used to be an option here that said delete. First of all, he's put it into the drop-down menu now, and if you click on delete, it will warn you and give you the chance to say, nope, I didn't mean to cancel. In the old version, you didn't have a chance to cancel out of it. You actually just had to go ahead and proceed with the cancel or proceed with the delete, even if you didn't want to. Somebody brought out to us that the duplicate effect. The duplicate effect is something that is rarely used. It was added last year, maybe the year before, and honestly, I'm not a fan of it. I hate to say it, I'm not a fan of it because it counts on you having an effect above it and imported. So if you're importing an effect and you want to duplicate it, if you don't include the original prop that it was duplicating, I I don't think you're going to get the results you want. Anyway, the duplicate effect here, if you had not seen it in the past, you'd say, I want to duplicate effect. You'd drop this effect in here, and you'd say, I want to duplicate, and it's over here is the effect settings. Which one do you want to duplicate? I want to duplicate the fancy tree effect that's on layer one in that time frame. So it would also have an on effect on the icicles. The issue was that the person requester was trying to place it on a strand level. So if I can, I'm not sure if I can duplicate show this or not. Let me go down here. So here's a strand level, and if you placed a duplicate effect here, it would crash it. So here's on the matrix. That's what we expect. But if I arrow down, it would crash because the duplicate effect is only meant to be on a model, not on a strand, not on a submodel, not on a node. It's only expecting to be on a model. All right, so it was crashing. We just avoid the crash by um, uh, not processing it if it's not on a model. Fixed drag and drop. This is, I don't know, it's not even worth showing. If you're on the import effects and you brought something over from the right to the left, if you dragged it up a line or down a line, the UI would get messed up and it wouldn't show properly. So that was just corrected. Dan and Scott have been working on various crashes. Usually they are conditions that are abnormal and it's not handling it properly and it just crashes out of xLights. So Twinkly was doing that and also ES Pixel sticks. Note that we currently are working on an ES Pixel stick error that's similar to this one as well. So there's more error checking going on. We have created an issue ticket for .12 to try and find the answer for that one. And Dan did some digging on just some memory issues on the render cache, uh, basically accessing memory that wasn't allocated yet, so it would cause a crash condition. He caught that via the crash logs that get submitted to the App Store and such. So again, rare conditions, but still great to have these nailed down. Some people have noticed that when you opened up a sequence that was created in the current version, it would be flagged as being newer than the current version. This is what I was getting at in the original, at the start of the video with the dot one. Hopefully that's being addressed here with this patch so that it recognizes that dot one is not newer than what you're currently running. Hard to test that one, but I think that was correct. This was a bug that I introduced back 3, 4 months ago with images. The original fix was images that had a transparent background. They wouldn't render properly in xLights. They had like a pink border around them. So I changed that so it handled the transparent. But unfortunately, I also added the upscaling of the image. So normally upscaling looks better, but in fact, when in for xLights, upscaling doesn't look better. It softens all the edges, which makes it appear blurry. So I took out that upscaling. It wasn't intentional to have the upscaling in there. It was just in the code. It was a default parameter when I was calling the operation on the thing. So that's removed. So people saying blurry images should have no issues there. It was specifically visible on like a bulb that was, say, 10 by 15, a very small image. And all of a sudden, that crisp bulb shape was softened and it didn't look very good on the lights. And Scott doing HinksPix exports and a crash with HinksPix when you're not in full xLights control mode. Just minor tweaks there. The exports, I believe that's when you're exporting the schedule to be submitted. We had a lady in the Zoom room that was couldn't export her schedule because it kept flagging things with overlapping, and that was correct with that. Dan is putting in something yet more details to come on this. It's he's going to add, if I understood the goal here, he's going to add the sequence data, like the XSQ data, into the FSAQ, which is the data that gets sent up to your Pi, so that you have that last ditch restore. If you should lose everything on your PC, you might be able to save those sequences in the future. Now, that's just the sequence, not necessarily, definitely not the images and the videos and the audio, but at least you have the sequence that you had before. That's still a work in progress. I think he's just putting the groundwork in place for that for 9.3. Updated the Baldric controllers, the I like that controllers, and I'm just going to quickly see if I can find out what he did there. And just gonna see, look this. Oh, looks like again that was done to handle some error conditions again on this. Oh, they did something with number of pixels, port type. So there's some minor changes. There must have been some issues with the upload. It wasn't sending the right data, so that was corrected there. Added a little more information. When you open up xLights, sometimes you're faced with a screen, and a lot of people don't know what it means. It says, we found a newer RGBFX file. What do you want to use, that one or your old one? Well, this change simply adds the dates. So you can see that the dates and go, okay, this one was created yesterday, and my original one was created a month ago. I know I haven't made any changes. Therefore, I don't want to grab the newest one. Just gives you a little more of an informed decision when you're faced with that prompt when you first open xLights. Dan corrected something that was really scratching our heads. This was a custom model created outside of xLights. So it was huge. It was 4,000 by 4,000 grid size, whereas xLights only really truly handles 1,000 by 1,000. But in any case, when it was uploaded to FPP, there's a something that takes place in the background called these overlays um, that would, in this case, consume a lot of memory on the FPP and crash FPP. So he made a tweak there. So it says if I get such a thing going forward, I'm just going to treat it like a horizontal line, and I'm not going to try and map out what this 4,000 by 4,000 grid really is. So not too many people using the overlay models in that regard, but it's out there for you if you want to do some research on that. Dan doing some cleanup on the render cache. For those folks still using it, this was another memory issue that he caught in the logs, just making sure that we're not accessing memory that has yet to be initialized, etc. They're very geeky talk, nothing really relevant to most sequencers, but it's just trying to make the program even more stable with less crashes. Shorter batch render status line. There was a folks that do a batch render, and on the very bottom of the status line, it would be so long because your document path was so long that you couldn't understand what was happening. So we just made a little tweak there. So if the status line is too long, it would uh, um, it would shorten it up and provide a little shortcut there. Okay, one second. Somebody get the phone? And I've added a new Lua script here. I'll show you that one. I think I can do that here. Lua scripts are something that you can always run. They're little utilities. So under Tools, Run Scripts. You may not have any here. You can click on Download, and then you can access the system once. If you're into programming, you can actually write your own scripts. But I added a new one that's now available called Batch Render Sequence. Now, you might say you already have a batch render tool. You do, but this one's got a little something different in that you can it'll give you the timings, how long it takes to do. Oh, and again, maybe it's not going to work. I'm going to have to check that out. Now I'm running on my test system, so that could be, and I'm also running on sequences that are bad here. Let me see if I choose a different sequence. And test sequences, test lines. Let's try these two. Click OK. Nope. I'm going to have to look into that one, see what's going on there. Could be my just my test environment here that's messed up. But it not only batch renders, but it provides you the time it took to run each one of the sequences. I like this as an option to run, say, 10 sequences in one version and run those same 10 sequences in another version and compare the times to see if everything is still running as expected and there's no hiccups. So I will double check. I know it works in my production version of my show folder, so I'm guessing that's all it really is here, that I can't demo it, but it's fairly straightforward. You just choose your sequences and fire it off. UI tweaks to the restore dialog. So let me show that. File, restore backup. Oops, says you have to close your sequence. Let me close that first. File, close sequence, discard it. That was just a demo one. File, restore backup. Originally, it would open up to a panel that only showed you this, and you didn't even realize that there was two other panels beside it. So now it's a little more information. You can actually see exactly what's being offered to you. Now you can, of course, make it bigger. But originally, it would only show you these entries, and you didn't even know that it was showing you the layout or the sequences or the actual models in it. So I just wanted to make that really obvious when you went into the restore dialog. Um, this is sort of going back to what I was saying earlier from Scott and the Hinks picks on the scheduler. So he's added some more options there. And he also added a choice to make the states bulk editable. So if I was to create a new sequence here, I'm not sure I have anything I can show this on, but well, maybe. The idea is if you have multiple state effects and Control C, Control V, Control V, here we go. So I got multiple state effects. You can select them all. Then you should have a bulk edit option up here. And now you can say bulk edit and you can change the option here. So that was added by Scott in this version. So if anybody's looking to do that. All right, so the only unfortunate piece here is I can't demo the Lewis script. I'm pretty sure it works on my, well, I know it works on my production environment. It's just not working on this demo environment that I have set up here. So if you have any questions on any of these, see us in the Zoom room. And if you have any big issues, let us know about them so we can get them addressed. Like I said, we are aware of at least one pixel stick yes, pixel stick crash that's happening, but everything else seems to be going so far so good. If you have any issues, come on and see us in the Zoom room, xlightszoom.com. Be sure to like and share, and have a great day.